All right, welcome back. So last time we talked about for loops, and this time we'll be talking about while loops and do while loops, and they're just different types of loops. And I just want to iterate this fact that a while loop and a for loop can be inner switched, just like a switch statement and a if statement can be switched. So they can replace each other. They basically can do the same thing. So let's go ahead and do a fun example of while loops. The first fun example we'll be doing is an infinite loop. So I promise you we're going to do an infinite loop this time. So let's write a function called infinite loop just to signify that, or just run infinite loop. That's the function's action. And so just like for is keyword, while is also a keyword. So while true, let's print out run. And let's actually run this, and you'll see that it will actually never stop because it'll never be false. So it's a Boolean expression, right? So it will just keep going forever until we terminate it. So you might be confused what while true means. For example, we can say that Boolean run equals true. So you can say while run equals true, right? Same thing as while true. So basically, while again, this evaluates to true, right? Same thing as just being true. But let's just try this example. While run equals true, print line, right? And actually, the cool thing about booleans is you don't have to specify if it equals true or false. You can just say while run. So while run. So while run, or call it while running. Oh. While running equals true, then keep printing out this infinite loop. So how do we stop this loop? We have to make it false. So we can say running equals false, and if you do that, then it would actually stop after one iteration. So because it's going to print out run, it's going to equal false, and the next time it's not going to run. So it's not infinite anymore. So that's how you create an infinite loop, right? So let's do a game now. So if we double our money for 30 days and start at a penny, how much money will we have on the last day? Or it'll be more than $2 million or less. You can take a guess. We'll find out after we run this function. So let's call this function double money. And we're going to say double money with a while loop, because we're going to run this function with other loops like a for loop and a do while loop, and see the difference. So let's run this function with a while loop first. We're going to say int day equals 1. So we're going to start with day equals 1, and we're going to say number of days equals 30. So we're going to say int number of days equals 30, and really we should declare this as a global variable if we're trying to have good clean code. So we can actually just declare on top as a constant. Remember what constants are. So sorry. So we're going to say it's a constant now. So get rid of this. So we're going to say while day is less than or equal to num days. Now, there's a problem here, right? This will always be true because day will always be 1. We have to update day, so we have to do day plus plus, right, to increment day, so that eventually it stops, right? So eventually it's going to stop once it hits 30. So it's going to run 30 times, right, from 1 all the way to 30. So that's how we stop the while loop. We have a termination clause that once it hits 30, it stops. Unlike this function where it will never turn false because we remove that update to turn false, so it just will be running infinitely. So this will not be running infinitely because it will eventually terminate when it hits 30. So we actually want to do some logic though before we increment. We want to say for each day, we want to double the money, right? So for each day, we say money equals money times 2. And wait a second. There is no money variable. So let's use a double variable here, right? And we'll start with a penny. So we'll start with a penny. So we're going to double a penny for 30 days. So the first will be a penny, and the second day will be 2 pennies, and the third day will be 4 pennies, and the fifth day will be 10 pennies, and so forth, right? So 1, 2, 4, 8, 10, 20 pennies, the 6th day, all the way to 30 days, right? And let's actually print out what's going on here. So we're going to double the money. So the day plus just dash or just separate the day and money. So money, we have a dollar sign. We're going to say plus money. So we're formatting the string. We're formatting this print line statement to give us a nice output in the console, right? So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so before we do that, let's just go over the logic. So we have int day equals 1. We're going to say the money starts at 0.01, so we start with a penny. And we're going to say while day is less than or equal to num days, so basically until day equals 30, so from day 1 to 30 for a month, we're going to double the money. So money equals money times 2. Okay, so let's run this. And we'll see how much money we make after 30 days. Is it more than 2 million? Is it less than 2 million? Let's see. Well, day 1 we have 2 cents. By day 10 we have $10. By day 11 we have $20.40. By day 20 we have $10,000, 485 and 76 cents. And then by day 27 we actually have over $1 million. We have $1,342,177.28, and then we have 2.6 million on day 28. We have 5.3 million on day 29, and finally we have 10 million, over $10 million on day 30. So yes, we make over $2 million by doubling our penny for 30 days. It's pretty cool, right? We expect it to be not that much, but doubling is pretty quick. It's not linear. It's not. Yeah, I guess it's close to exponential. It's going really fast. So one thing we can change here before we move on to the next implementation is instead of money equals money times 2, same as like you can say money equals money plus 1 and change this to money plus plus, right? As a short way of writing that. You can say the same thing for money equals money times 2. You can say money times equals 2. And what that does is going to multiply money by 2 and save that to money. So it's going to say money equals 0.01 times 2, and it's going to save that to the value of money. So it's going to basically multiply itself by 2 and then save that value each time. So let's go ahead and run this same function, but instead of the while loop, we're going to use a for loop. So we're going back to the for loop as last time. So let's copy some of this code, but let's just name the method first. So double money with for loop. Just want to copy the beginning here. Okay, so we start at 1. And actually, we don't even need a day variable here, right? Because we know we start at 1. So, for example, for int I equals 1. So the scope of this variable is always inside the for loop. So you can't use this I outside this for loop. Unlike the while loop, this day is declared outside the while loop, so it can be used in the while loop and after while loop, whenever. So let's get rid of this. In I equals 1. So we start at 1, just like how we start day equal 1 here. So we're saying our I is basically our day now. I is less than or equal to num days, which is 30. And we do I plus plus. We increment I by 1. until I get to 30. So 1 to 30. So basically, this loop's the same as the while loops. This is exactly the same, and the logic can be the same here, right? Just money times equals 2, and then you just say, instead of day, you print out I, right? Because remember, we're just swapping day with I here. So let's go ahead and run this, and we should get the same exact output. So instead of using a while loop, we use a for loop. Like I said before, they can be swapped pretty easily. Yep, we still get 10 million something on day 30. Okay, so now finally, let's do this same exercise with a do while loop. So there's only really one difference between a do while loop and a while loop, and that a do while loop executes at least once. So, for example, before we actually go to this example, let's talk about that. So, for example, let's call this function double money, and let's just call it double money with while loop. With do while loop. And let's do the same exact thing with the while loop, right? Let's copy the exact same thing here, right? But now this time, instead of num days, we're gonna stop at day 0. So basically, it will never run. So it's always false, and it will never run. So when you actually run this, right, it will run 0 times. While the do while loop will run at least once. That's really the only difference. So as you can see, there's no output here because it didn't run, because it's already false, and it'll never have a condition to make it true. So it always has to start with a true condition, a while loop, to actually run at least once. If it's false from the get-go, it's never going to actually do anything. So let's change this to a do while loop. So do, another keyword, and you can say while day is less than or equal to 0, right? And we'll do the same thing here. So let's get rid of this and put this in here, and let's just do that, right? And it says day is less than or equal to 0 is always false, but guess what happens? Look what happens this time. So last time it printed out nothing, right? And this time it'll at least double once, because even though it's false, it'll at least double the first day. So a do while loop always runs at least once. That's really the difference. So now let's make it, instead of 0, let's make it num days, so it'll run for 30 days, and we should get the same exact output as we did before with the while loop and the for loop. And there we go. So the last day we get 10 million something. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed there's an E here, right? That's just because it's not going to show the rest. Because the formatting, the default formatter for double can't show that. But it is 10 million. All right, so basically this dot is supposed to move over 7 to the right. So it's going to be 10,737,418.24. So that's really all this E is. Scientific notation. It's still in Java. Yes, Java has scientific notation also. All right, so let's go over this do while loop logic, right? So we're saying do this while day is less than this. So instead of while this, do this, it says do this while this. So basically it's the opposite. So instead of doing while first, you do first. So that's why it runs at least once. So it's useful for situations where you want something to run at least once. That's really when we use a do while loop over a for loop or while loop. All right, that concludes our lesson for loops.